Good morning and welcome to day 16. And I need to update because it's not 22 Connect anymore. It's going to be 20 Connect because previously the VA wasn't gathering a lot of very good information about suicide rates and basically aftercare for veterans when they came back from war and active duty service members. And as they have more attention has been drawn to this issue, and as they've collected more data, it's become apparent that the number's a bit skewed. So it's not actually 22, it's 20 service members who commit suicide each day. That is still way too high. It is encouraging, though, that that's still 22 and 20. That's what, don't make me do math, 104 service members a year who less than what we had originally thought. So that is good, but we still have a long way to go. So along those veins, I want to talk today about getting into the solution and finding out what works for you. So there's no one right answer. And for me, I've tried quite a few different things over the last few decades to work on myself, to address my issues with depression, anxiety, unhealthy coping skills, relationship issues, all of that stuff. And so I wanted to share a few of the things that I've tried. And some of it may work for you, some of it may not. And the other thing too is more shall be revealed in my life. What happens is I'll find something that that awareness that I'm uncomfortable with something, and I'll start to work on that. And as I get a handle on that, then something else will come up. And I'm very grateful that it doesn't all come up at once because it would be overwhelming. So in the beginning, when I had, when it was first absolutely, I had my worst clinical depressive episode, they sent me to a psychiatrist. So the first thing that they did was medicate me. And as I've discussed before, I think that medication itself, it helps to kind of alleviate the symptoms, to raise the serotonin level in the brain so that for me, I can get to the business of addressing what the root causes are and actually change thought patterns and behavior patterns so that I have healthier coping skills and don't get to that place where I'm depressed again. So originally, I went to a psychiatrist, and they also sent me to a psychologist. So when people talk about therapists and psychologists and all that kind of stuff, the way I break it down is psychiatrists deal with the medical portion of it, as far as the biochemical physiology, and psychologists deal with the psyche and patterns of behavior, etc. That's how I identify it. So my experience was that when I had one-on-one sessions with a psychiatrist, I didn't find that particular psychiatrist, I should say, to be very empathetic or helpful in my situation. In fact, I found myself closing off more from her, and she would just write a script for me and get frustrated with me. The psychologist that I went to go see, the original psychologist that they sent me to, I saw for about 2 weeks. I felt okay with him. But he went on vacation, and they set me up with another psychologist, and I clicked with her better. And so when he came back, I asked to stay with her. So one of the things, and I have seen psychologists, I've lived in 8 different states, so I've found psychologists in different states when I need to go see somebody. I go in for a tune-up. And I mean, it's fantastic. You go in for an hour and all the focus is on you. So, maybe some people aren't comfortable with that, but for me, I need help, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. So I would encourage people, and I've had this conversation before where people have gone to go see a psychologist and they're like, I don't feel like I'm getting anything out of it, or, I don't feel like I click with this person. And my response to that is, then find another one. Find something that does work for you, and continue down that path until you do find something that works for you. So that was my experience with psychologists. I also went and did EMDR at the recommendation of a very dear friend of mine. EMDR is eye movement desensitization response. And basically the theory behind that, I'm not a scientist, but this is how I explain things in my layman terms, is that the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of your brain process experiences together. And when a traumatic event happens, those memories get disjointed. It's kind of as if you have your running and your backup tape on your computer, and if those are out of sync, that you won't be able to process information correctly. You can see I'm a techie. So anyway, what EMDR does is, the theory behind it is that it lines up those experiences in your brain, and it kind of syncs up your running and backup. And in doing so, you're able to process through those emotions. And they've shown very great success with treating PTSD through EMDR. So that's a wonderful, wonderful area of study. One of the other things that I've done too is I got involved in Al-Anon. Now, a lot of people are familiar with AA, which is, somebody has self-identified as having a problem with drinking. Al-Anon is for friends and family members who are affected by somebody's drinking. So for me, and I'm not a poster child for Al-Anon by any means at all, but I find benefit from it, and so I share this with you. So for me, it teaches me how to have appropriate boundaries, and with myself, with other people, how to have reasonable expectations, how to shift my perspective into gratitude, and overall, it teaches me. And on a regular basis, I practice having healthy interactions with other people and relationships with other people and with myself. And in doing so, I found some very good success with that. One of the things about Al-Anon, that I think is a really good thing to look at, because they do this also, is the fact that it's a group setting. So one of the things that I've heard from service members who are struggling in a group setting with a psychologist, who's never been in a combat situation, is they're like, how could you know? You haven't been there. How would you know? But in that group setting, what's happening is you're sitting with other people who have experienced what you've experienced. So the details of their stories may be this different, but the feelings and the reactions and the responses and everything like that and the maladaptive behavior may be the same. And when I find people who have had similar responses to things, and then I find those people who, hey, you have a similar background to me, but you're doing better now. How did you do that? And that to me is how I find a mentor. I find somebody who has what I want, and I ask them how they got it. And it was a huge ask for me to walk up to somebody who was a complete stranger and ask for them to invest in me. But that is part of the reason. Well, it is the absolute reason why I'm doing as well as I am these days. Is connecting with somebody else. Is that investment in relationships? Is that sharing of myself and them sharing their experiences with me, and then me passing that on to other people. So that connection to me is the critical part. So I will say this: figure out what works for you. And don't stop if you're not satisfied with your results. Continue to press for other avenues, other opportunities. And as more is revealed, you may need to adjust a little bit. I know this example seems to work for some people, and that's that what I could eat in my 20s is not what I can eat now in my 40s. So I have to adjust. So what worked for me then may not work for me as well now. And I'm worth it. And I make the adjustment, and I'm happy with the results. So hopefully you go out and do something positive and invest in yourself today. And I hope you connect with somebody. Thank you.